That's what I say, and that's what matters. Isn't that right, Keith? We are now recording the podcast, just so you know. Gotcha, bitch.
You got me.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun,
Dun,
dun.
dun, 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 dun. We were doing that the whole time while we were setting up our little podcast.
Yeah, it's a catchy song.
It's a catchy song. It is a catchy song, and it fits this episode. Oh, by the way, hey you and welcome. Praise that. The Law and Order theme song fits this episode of the That Chapter podcast really well for the folks at home, because today we've got a murder. We have a chase, a manhunt, an investigation, a little bit of history in there. Some for all the folks to enjoy.
It's got it all.
It's got it all. Bing bang boom.
New technology for the area.
Yeah, I mean, very old technology that's kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
But, you know, for them, it was like, whoa, holy S. Gosh darn holy S, bro.
Blew their freaking mind, man.
So, I guess I should probably redo the intro. Oh, fuck it. I'm just cursing now. I was like, I'm on the train of getting into the episode. All right, we should probably ease them in. Keith.
Okay. Yes.
Thanks for coming on That Chapter episode. Always appreciate you.
That was good to be here. Thank you.
Great. So yeah, what's going on with you? For the folks at home who are very curious, I mean, they see me all the time posting videos on YouTube, but people are thinking to themselves, who is Keith? You know, people are always curious. What's he up to? What does he look like? Ooh, we haven't shown you yet.
Not yet, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel people are going to be disappointed.
Probably.
I'm sorry.
I was disappointed when I was 3 years old and I first met you. I was like,
for anyone with high hopes, set the bar low.
No, you're cool. You got some new tattoos. He's getting a sleeve finished off.
Yeah.
Keith is very heavily tattooed for the folks at home. He has one whole sleeve on his left arm done. It's all black and red. It looks very cool. It's like, it's not patchwork, but it's all the same. I don't really know.
Well, it's patchwork, but it's by the same guy.
Yeah, so it's patchwork, but it's stylistically all looks the same, and it's all the same colors. It's very cool individual pieces. And then in your other arm, you had a half sleeve, and now you're getting it finished off to make a whole sleeve.
Yeah, it was a bit awkward because the first half was like I got it when I was 20, and then like I was planning like I'm never going to go past the elbow.
Yeah, that's what they all say.
Because like work, And then I'm in the job now where like it doesn't matter. So now I'm trying to add on to get the full sleeve, but like you can see there, the colours aren't really matching because one's like...
Well, one's
old.
like over 10 years old.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it fades to that just kind of
13
like
years old now.
Navy-ish color.
Yeah.
That tattoos do. But the other one is like, just
bright black.
Yeah. Tell me this. If for some weird reason you had to choose between getting your arm or your leg cut off, would your tattoos impact that situation? You'd be like, the amount of money I put into my arms, I'm not getting them chopped off.
I feel I have more use for my arms though.
Well, okay. Say you use things with your legs like a monkey.
Okay.
Would you still be more inclined to say your arm? I don't know where I'm going with this. Do you, when it's a hot day, do you cover up to, wear a lot of sunscreen to cover up your tattoos?
Oh, yeah. No, like I have to wear sun cream. Like I'm wearing sun cream right now.
I know. I see you glisten.
It's 5:30.
It is 5:30 on a very overcast,
it's raining.
autumnal day. It is a wedding.
Don't let it fool you, sir. There's still UV rays there.
The UV rays.
I got burnt. This is a true story. So me and my wife, we went on our honeymoon we just went down the west coast of Ireland, but one of the stops we stopped off in was, the Alby Caves?
I do, yes. I was near them, but I've never been in them.
They're great. They're fantastic. So, I don't know, if you visited Ireland, you've probably gone to
They're
the
near
Alby Caves.
Like Cliffs of Moher and stuff like that.
Close enough, yeah.
It's in Clare.
Yeah, it's down to Burn. It's in Clare. It's down to Burn, yeah. But it's brilliant. It's a big, massive cave. It's fantastic. But so we went to the caves, and then I came back to the hotel after the caves and looked in the mirror, and I was sunburned. I got really badly sunburned in a goddamn cave. Obviously what happened was just from the walk from my car to the cave, it wasn't even that hot of a day, but I got so burned and I was like, how did I get burnt in a cave?
Well, there you go, folks. You've heard her first. Keith is so pale he gets sunburned inside.
You got that sweet cave burn,
Yeah. Nice, dude. Yeah. You just come back from the cave again? Yeah. And any tales of ghosts or anything from your haunted house where you currently are living?
It's been nice and quiet. It's been good. Like there's every now and again still get the old noise that I don't know where it's coming from. It's actually, I'm kind of, every time I hear a noise, because it's such an old house, the house was built in the 1930s, where I hear a noise now and I'm hoping to God that it is a ghost, because if it's not, then it's like, that's probably going to cost me.
Yeah, something else broke.
That's money. Yeah. I don't want to spend, so always something, always fixing. Yeah.
And kids are so eager to grow up. Welcome to reality, bitch.
Well, when life gives you lemons.
Anyways, let's get into today's old episode. It is the story of Dr. Crippen and the body in the cellar. Ooh, it's a spooky one. So yeah, in today's episode, we are diving into the criminal underworld, if you can believe that, of the early 20th century London, specifically the year 1910. London, during this era, was a perilous haven, attracting some of society's most sinister individuals. Hey, that's where you would have been if you had been around then. You would have been the real Dr. Crippen. Dr. Crippen. While Jack the Ripper had once terrorized the city and dominated headlines, he wasn't the only wicked force at play. Enter Dr. Hawley Harvey Crippen, also known as Dr. Crippen. He was an American homeopathic physician whose name became synonymous with infamy due to his role in a horrific murder case. No spoilers, or was it? Spoilers ended.
We don't know.
No, it's got to be. It's a questionable one.
It is.
But we'll get into it. Despite this case having been extensively covered in over 40 books and films over the years, including numerous in-depth works, significant doubts still actually persist regarding whether who's innocent or guilty. And even though it's been extensively covered, I'd never heard of it.
That's the thing. Yeah. Like I came across it in an old book. I have this like old crime book that has murders from like the 1800s all the way to like today. Super interesting, but this is just like it was kind of like the book is done out like a newspaper, so you have like loads of different clippings. But this one in particular had like it was a 2-pager. Usually those 2-pagers, it's set for like Jack the Ripper or like those big cases. And then what I was reading, I was like, I've never heard of this.
Yeah,
but apparently it was huge, and it's still today. Like people in England and London, they know about the Dr. Crippen.
I think what we've figured out here is that if it hasn't been covered on the That Chapter podcast, it hasn't been extensively covered.
That's true, yeah.
So let's just put a button in that, mister.
And once we do it, that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody else is allowed to cover it. Yeah, we're done. We're the final nail in the subject. Yeah, exactly. Don't look us up anywhere else, folks, really, if you're interested in the story. We will cover everything you need to know. So join us as we cover a tale that's part murder mystery, part early 20th century technology, and, well, much like Heat, a little bit odd.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. So let's dive into the gruesome murder, bunny ears allegedly committed by Dr. Crippen and the manhunt that ensued, which attracted international attention and led to the trial of the century.
Ooh.
Our main character today, Hawley Harvey Crippen, made his grand entrance into the world back in 1862 in the quaint town of Coldwater, Michigan, US of A. Stars and bars. Crippen was the only child of storekeeper Myron Augustus Crippen, which is a cool name.
It's a good name. Yeah.
Myron Augustus.
Yeah, Myron. It's not one you hear these days.
No, but we need to bring it back.
We should. Yeah. I'd have another kid just to give him the name.
That'd be pretty cool, though. I'd name it Augustus Caesar, give him like cool-ass Roman emperor name. Be pretty badass.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. Him, anyway, that lad, and his wife, Andresse Skinner. I hope I pronounced that name right, but if I didn't, I don't care. He grew up in a typically ordinary and unremarkable manner. This sense of normality carried over into his adult life. Dr. Crippen, he was reserved, mild-mannered individual, kind of a bit of a, just a regular-ass dude. The kind of person you might pass by in the street without a second thought.
Yeah, he was a real nobody.
So why do we have 13 pages on this household then? Well, wait till we get to it, folks.
So to me, what really makes this case just particularly chilling is the idea that someone, like, as you said, just so unremarkable could commit such a gruesome murder. I guess, like, as often the case in these true crime stories, what truly captivates and terrifies us about major crimes isn't the weird stuff, but the ordinary, everyday elements within them, which I find very chilling.
Oh, very chilling indeed, good sir. As somebody who covers true crime all the time, it's always the regular everyday Joes who are doing the weird shit.
That's it. Like when you kind of...
Actually, I take that back. No, actually, I just disregard what I just said because when I think about...
Arguing with yourself.
I know. This is just my train of thought. Folks, this is Mike Uninterrupted and welcome to the Mike Zone.
Yeah. So, this is what Mike done through all of COVID, just on his own debating himself.
I know, I'm going Alex Jones on this. But yeah, covering like serial killers and people who do weird shit, it is always the weirdos.
It is.
Generally. Yeah. It's like, it's very rarely the quiet, mild-mannered guy. It's like, no, people were always saying it was him. Who was the serial killer who was hanging people up and skinning them alive and like doing the sick shit. It's like, nah, people had a fairly good idea who was behind this the whole time. It wasn't Joe Soap Dent Road. It was like Killian McKilster who lived in an apartment where the screams are coming from.
Never listened to the neighbours on the news either. They was like, oh, he was always so quiet. It's like, nah, he was a weirdo.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for that one case where it comes out and the neighbour's like, he was fucking weird, man. I'm not surprised at all.
So Crippen's education followed the standard path for aspiring medical professionals in the United States. So after completing his foundational education at the University of Michigan, he continued his studies at the Hospital College in Cleveland, Ohio. In 1883, he spent some time casually observing various hospitals in London before returning to New York. In 1885, Dr. Crippen earned a diploma as a specialist in ear and eye care from the ophthalmic? Is that how you say that?
Yeah, good luck with that.
yeah, I'm on my own. From the Ophthalmic Hospital in New York. Subsequently, he practiced medicine in various locations, including Detroit for 2 years, Santiago for 2 years, Salt Lake City, New York, St. Louis, Philadelphia, and Toronto. These relocations spanned a period of 12 years, covering from 1885 to 1896. During this 12-year period, in 1887, he met his first wife, Charlotte Jane Bell, while he was in New York. Charlotte was, in fact, a nurse from Dublin, Ireland.
Woo! Up the dubs.
They fell madly in love and were married within the year, and they had a son called Otto, who was born in 1889. Unfortunately, around 1890-1891, Charlotte died of a stroke, after which Crippen moved back to New York and entrusted his parents with the care of his son.
That was a bit of a dick move, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's like, whoops, he's your problem now, bye.
Wait a minute, you can do that?
Yeah.
Hang on.
Within 2 years, then, he became acquainted with a young woman of 17 who went by the name of Cora Turner.
Ooh, well, you know what you all saying? Opposites attract. Very fitting in this case.
Yeah, they were very, very... First of all, there was a significant age gap. She was 17 and he was 30.
Crippen creeping over young ones, huh?
But beyond that, Crippen was rather unremarkable in appearance, standing at 5 feet 4 inches with a receding hairline, glasses, moustache, and a reserved and unassuming demeanor, which he sounds like me. I'm a little bit taller than that, but the rest is fine.
There's a bit of credit, man.
Cora, on the other hand, was young, attractive, loud, aggressive, and by all accounts a rather exhausting person to be. She sounds like
high-spirited. A real Karen.
Yeah,
a Karen at 17.
Yeah. In the early days of dating, Crippen found out that the flamboyant and flirtatious Cora Turner was a kept woman. You see, Cora was so focused on her dream of becoming an opera singer that she didn't bother herself with silly little things like finding a job. You fucking kidding me? Instead, she played the long game. She found a married man to pay for her apartment and her singing lessons. And in turn, she provided him with some good old companionship. So Crippen, he wasn't having it. He wanted to lock that shit down coast to coast with his new relationship, and so he proposed. Upon recognizing that a doctor's income would sufficiently fund her lavish way of life, Cora enthusiastically accepted the proposal. Consequently, the two lovebirds tied the knot in New Jersey on September 1st, 1892. Again, didn't waste much time when his wife died, 1891, and then within a year he was already off with this young one.
Right, yeah, he was back on a horse.
Crippen actually later discovered his real wife's name, or his wife's real name rather, wasn't Cora Turner as he had believed, but rather, and this is a lot of fun here, Kunigunde Mukowski.
Well done, man.
Thank you. Good. And it's no shit, she changed her name.
Yeah, right.
If somebody had named me that, I'd be like, change your fucking name. Yeah. That's your first problem right there. Her father hailed from Russia, being of Polish descent, and her mother was of German origin.
Yeah, I guess it's crazy the things that you find out about your wife when you marry her only after knowing her for a short time, I guess.
I know, it's wild. Who would have thunk it after just a few months of dating this obnoxious 17-year-old?
Shocking.
Wow. What else is she keeping from him?
I wonder what she found out as well. Or it was just one of the days in the living room, it's Cora. I was like, what? That's not my name.
Stop calling me that. Yeah. Call me,
Kunigunde Mukowski. Yeah.
The reason for her name change was because, as previously mentioned, she wanted to be an opera singer, and I guess she just found out that Kunigunde did not roll off the tongue when announcing your name at Carnegie Hall, so she wanted to go with Cora, which, yeah, fair play to you. Cora possessed a petite yet crystal clear singing voice appreciated by her friends, which fueled her aspirations, that's your first problem right there. When your friends enjoy it, but nobody else does.
Yeah.
You'll get all pat. You're great. It's like when your mother says, you should be on stage somewhere. It's like, no, you fucking shouldn't.
We've had a couple of gigs. Actually, yeah, me and Mike used to be in a band.
Oh, yeah, we did. We didn't bring that up. Well, we played like one gig. Did we? No, it was more. I think it was more. No, it was more than one.
I think we done Whelan's as well, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. We did. Yeah.
But,
oh, yeah, we were in a band. Guys, how have we not bragged about this yet? I played bass. Yep. Keith was lead guitar.
Yeah. But
Bomb chicka bomb bomb.
Nice. Still got it.
I still got it.
There was definitely a couple of gigs when it was just our friends in the audience.
That's fun. We had our fun.
We had our fun.
Yeah, who gives a care? So as you can imagine, unfortunately for Cora, these ambitions didn't quite pan out as expected. Nevertheless, Dr. Crippen, being the indulgent husband he was, supported her desire to refine her vocal talents. This was in the year 1899 when they were living in Philadelphia. During this time, Crippen allowed his wife to remain in New York to undergo voice training, with all expenses covered, of course, nurturing the hope that she could pursue a career in grand opera. She was still in New York when, in the year 1900, Dr. Crippen arrived in London to manage Munson's advertising business for patent medicines. The company's offices were located on Shaftesbury Avenue at the time. However, approximately 4 months into his stay in London, his wife made the journey to join him. She had discontinued her lessons in New York, completely relinquishing her dreams of pursuing grand opera, probably because she was shit. They say the quickest way to Carnegie Hall is practice. Well, Cora stopped practicing and literally went the opposite way. Her newfound ambitions were firmly rooted in the music halls of England, a domain she likely viewed as more promising for honing her talents. She was like, well, if you can't make it in America, I'll try England. Maybe it's easier there.
Exactly, yeah. Let's go to Europe.
It's probably fucking harder there.
The music halls are a really interesting part of history, I think. So in the 1830s, London's music halls had a really humble beginning as tavern rooms that offered entertainment in the form of music and specialty acts for their patrons. These tavern rooms often were like far from ideal performance venues. They were often like noisy and rowdy. And the audience, with the audience engaging in constant chatter, sometimes even like hurling objects and bottles, old boots, and even there was one record of someone throwing a dead cat at the performance.
This can sing better than you.
Who does that? Like, bring a cat?
I wonder if they killed a cat and then brought it in, or they just find a dead cat.
But like, what's the goal? Like, if it was, so just brought a cat in with them in their coat, and if it was good, do you just bring the cat home? That was actually quite good. I'll keep the cat. So fast forward to the 1850s then, when the very first purpose-built musical was built. So known as Canterbury Hall in Lambert emerged, could accommodate 700 people who were seated at tables enjoying food and drinks throughout the performances. Women were actively encouraged to attend the music halls as it was believed that their presence had a civilizing effect on the male audience. Well, you think so, but nevertheless, not all gentlemen brought their wives for a night out.
Oh, very nice.
So the halls developed a somewhat scandalous reputation, with prostitutes soliciting customers in the aisles.
Nice. Real nice.
So despite these controversies, music halls they just sprung up all over London. And by 1875, there were a staggering 375 of them in Greater London. Throughout the 1860s, it became increasingly common for women to take the stage in these halls. For working class women, performing gave them a means of escape and independence, and many of them managed to carve a decent living on the music hall circuit. Now, I guess fast forward to the early 1900s when Cora Turner arrived in London, music halls had evolved significantly by this point. The primary draw for the audience had shifted from food and drink to the performers themselves. These halls were churning out huge, big stars who would dazzle audience members in multiple venues every night. The performers, they'd be racing across London in their carriages to these purpose-built theatres, and they were designed with these opulent features like chandeliers, gold leaf decorations,
fancy,
these plush red velvet seats with armrests.
Oh wow! Well, if it has armrests,
very fancy.
I'm in.
Fancy stuff. So the tradition of dining and drinking during the performance, it faded away. I know. Instead, the audience, they sat in rows in these darkened auditoriums, which it discouraged their active participation in the show. They felt less likely to chime in or throw dead cats.
Exactly, the fun's over.
What do we do with this cat now?
Exactly. My 10 dead cats are brought.
We'll just keep it. Yeah. Make a stew. So the old spirit of the music hall, it just gradually faded, giving way to an era of the variety entertainment. Interesting. The first Royal Variety performance actually took place on July 1st, 1912. So, if our story had unfolded today, we may have actually seen Cora Turner showcasing her talents on a show like Britain's Got Talent, being critiqued by none other than Simon Cowell.
Well, you see, love, you're shit and you're never gonna make it. How's my Simon Cowell?
That's good, man. That's
Is
good.
it?
Real good. I like
Let the listeners decide on myself. I have no idea actually how Simon Cowell sounds. I imagine he sounds something like that.
He's English, yeah.
Yeah. That's close enough.
I think you nailed it.
Honestly?
Yeah.
Horrific.
So, to make her mark in the music halls of London, Cora diligently adhered to the external requirements of her intended career, which means, much like guests like, entertainment careers mean today, be hot. Essentially.
Yeah.
She adopted the stage name Belle Elmore, and thanks to her generous husband, adorned herself with a collection of dazzling dresses. However, the reality was far from the glamorous image she aspired to attain. Despite initially aiming for star status at a top-notch London music hall, her aspirations gradually dwindled to accept basically any opportunity at any music hall. And even these, when it came down to it, proved elusive for her agents to secure. She must have been real shit. Not mean, but real shit.
She was not good. Of all these cats, great. I'll just throw my Cora.
There were a couple of feeble attempts at performing in some very minor music halls, but Miss Cora Turner's talents fell short again. The plain truth was that she simply just lacked any talent for the stage, not even the modest kind that could make the performance of an attractive young woman, donned in fashionable attire and financially supported, resonate with a music hall audience. Despite Cora's inability to make it big in the music halls, the Crippens remain deeply ingrained in the social scene. They established numerous connections within the music hall performer community and frequently dined at restaurants where Cora's lively demeanor and willingness to spend money made them welcome additions to the social circle. Friends from that time painted a vivid picture of her, characterizing her as exceptionally lively. She sounds like a fucking shotgun blast to the head. Her distinctive New York twang, combined with a boisterous, clear voice, made her impossible to miss at a party. She sounds like a lot of fun in like the worst way.
You sound like a lot of fun over there. I'll be here.
Yeah.
You'll be there.
Yeah, and we'll have a great time together. Just never interact. She was a constant burst of color, clad in the most vibrant attire, and adorned with jewelry that seemed to cascade from her. One admirer compared her appearance to that of a tropical paradise bird. Which, is that a compliment? In contrast, Dr. Crippen had a rather unremarkable appearance, and he primarily played the role of an observer in social settings. Nevertheless, he embraced this role wholeheartedly, and was very content in doing so. He consistently displayed courtesy and hospitality, often giving her money or jewelry in front of her friends. In 1905, Crippen had also secured a lovely rental property at 39 Hilldrop Crescent, where they would throw dinner parties for their friends. And because of this, he was seen, with good reason, as the ideal husband. I mean, for someone like Cora, the ideal husband, he'll just shut up, he'll host parties, and give her money.
That's it. That's all she wants.
Hey, that's it, yeah.
She just wants an ATM.
Who doesn't want that? I'd love a husband who'd do that for me. Just shut up, be in the corner, and give me all your money. It sounds great. However, it was pretty clear that the couple were in a honeymoon phase. You know how they say all good things must come to an end? And that intense spark that once fired up their relationship started to fizzle out. Now, behind closed doors, their home life was anything but peaceful. Cora's behavior took a wild turn. She was a cruel, violent woman, and the couple were always arguing, often because Cora spent more money than they could afford. She also kept wandering off into affairs, and she didn't really bother to try and hide it. She'd get off these younger fellas from the music hall scene right out in the open, be lashing them in there into the marital bed. On occasion, she'd even put Dr. Crippen to work, making him clean these guys' boots when they were fucking banging up. Wow, that's so sad. That's so pathetic.
She made him into a real cook. How this happened was because she was spending so much money that they didn't have, they had to take on boarders into their house.
Boarders, wink wink.
Wink wink, yeah. But some of these people that were coming in, they were definitely paying to stay there. And there were people that she knew from in and around the music scene.
Yeah, artists. He's an artist.
He's an artiste, Mike.
He just gets me.
Yeah. But I guess that's what happened, because part of the service that they provide for these boarders would be, they'd have their meals prepared and stuff, but they'd also clean the boots. They'd have these people over, she'd slip out of the bed at night, hop into their bed, do a bit of, you know what? Mm-hmm. And then the next morning she'd get up and tell Crippen to go off and clean these boots of the men. You'd.
Now, having said that, Dr. Crippen wasn't completely innocent in all this. In 1907, Crippen fell in love with his secretary, Ethel Leneve. Ethel wanted him to leave his wife and to marry her, but Crippen would not, or was afraid to leave Cora. Then, in December 1909, Cora discovered that her husband and Ethel Leneve were lovers, and she did not take too kindly to that at all. She warned Crippen that she would leave him and take most of his money with her. See, she was like, it's fine when I do it, but you better not fucking look at it.
Don't you dare.
Yeah.
This was a really relatively new thing. So with marriage, a wife's property became that of their husband's until the Married Woman's Property Act of 1882, which at last gave women control of what was their own.
So things were good up until 1882, and then it's like, oh,
1882,
shit. She can own things?
Yeah, you could kind of divorce and they'd have nothing, where after
the
marriage or the Married Women's Property Act of 1882, after that, you had to, this went a whole, like, give half or whatever.
Yeah, man, yeah. Guys had a really good ride up until then. Lads, man, they're having a great time.
People have it so hard now.
Yeah.
I'm being facetious.
On the evening of Monday, January 31st, 1910, the Crippens threw a dinner party for two close friends of Cora's, Paul and Clara Martinetti. The meal passed pleasantly enough, except for one incident. Paul Martinetti had asked to use the toilet, but Dr. Crippen didn't bother to personally show him to where it was, and Cora, she didn't like that. She scolded him for it. I guess she thought he wasn't taking care. He said the bathroom's down the road, and she's like, no, you have to take him to the bathroom, because that's how real hosts do it. Yeah. And maybe Crippen just didn't give a shit. They weren't his friends. They were Cora's. By the time the Martinettis finally wrapped up their evening and left, it was about 1 a.m. on Monday, February 1st. Little did anyone know that this would be the last time anyone would catch a glimpse of Cora Turner alive. We lost the star.
Yeah, devastated.
Mm-hmm. Over the following week or so, questions began to rise about Cora's whereabouts. Now, initially, Crippen explained that she had traveled to the United States to be with a seriously ill relative. However, as time went on, this narrative, it underwent changes. The story was always changing. Now, he claimed that she had fallen ill herself. Eventually, Crippen informed acquaintances that his wife had succumbed to pneumonia while in the California mountains. Cora was gone.
I love this. He was such a bad liar. It was real like, where's Cora? It's like, oh, she went to see a sick relative. Oh yeah? Which relative? No, not a relative. She's sick? Oh, okay. What's she sick with? Oh, she's got that, she's coming down with a bad case of death?
There was a rather significant issue with the story. Ethel Leneve had started wearing some of Cora's jewellery, and by the end of February, she had moved in with Crippen at their house. Now, naturally, this raised eyebrows among their friends and suspicions grew. Inquiries made by concerned friends in California also yielded no information about Cora's supposed visit, illness, or death. This newfound information was promptly relayed to the police. The friends were thinking something very, very odd was happening, setting in motion a series of events that would unravel a disturbing mystery. It's kind of a mystery that goes on to this day. See, on July 8th, Chief Inspector Walter Dew paid a visit to Hilldrop Crescent and found Ethel there alone. Crippen, it appeared, was at his work, so Dew went to see him there. They then returned to Hilldrop Crescent, where Crippen willingly showed the officer around the house, nothing to hide. During this visit, he presented Dew a different version of events. He claimed that Cora had left him for another man she had met back in late 1903. Dew advised Crippen that it would be best if Cora herself were able to confirm this story and also confirm she was still breathing. In response, Crippen said he would place advertisements in certain newspapers, urging her to get in touch, which I just love that. It's like, to get in contact with somebody 100 years ago, you had to put ads, call me, in the newspaper.
When will I hear back? No more than 2 weeks.
Yeah. After a thorough investigation of the house, during which Dew, he only noticed some unwashed clothes, he departed. Walter Dew didn't see anything there strange, and the case might have been closed at this point if it wasn't for Dew's return the following day. He intended to confirm the exact departure date of Cora Turner with Dr. Crippen for his report. However, when he arrived, he discovered that the house was empty. Both Dr. Crippen and Ethel were gone.
Oh my God.
Where did they go?
We know from the next paragraph.
Mm-hmm. They had vanished without leaving a forwarding address or any explanation, reigniting Dew's suspicions. Over the course of the next 2 days, he meticulously combed through every corner of the house. Finally, he rapped his stick on the brick floor in the basement and noticed a hollow sound. This led to the removal of a section of the floor, revealing a gruesome discovery. In the coal cellar lay a torso. It was so badly mutilated that not even its gender was identifiable. The corpse had no head, no limbs or genitals, but among the remains they did find one piece of flesh which bore a distinctive scar. Medical records confirmed that Cora had a matching scar on her lower abdomen. Even more compelling evidence came to light. The remains had been wrapped in a pajama jacket with a tag inside bearing the manufacturer's name, Jones Brothers. Upon contacting the manufacturer, it was revealed that this specific cloth and pattern had not been produced until late 1908, proving that the body must have been placed there after that date. These findings, in conjunction with the scar, strongly indicated that the body belonged to Cora Turner. With this breakthrough, the manhunt for Dr. Crippen was officially underway. Nice. After Chief Inspector Walter Dew left 39 Hilldrop Crescent the first time on July 8th, Dr. Crippen felt he had to act fast as they were onto him. He was shitting bricks, literally the day the inspector walked into his house. Crippen decided to get rid of his distinctive mustache, so he shaved it off. Then, in a rather peculiar move, he transformed Ethel Lenev's appearance to resemble that of a boy.
I don't get this part. Why turn her into a boy? Why not just put a wig on her?
Yeah, there's a million different ways you could disguise your mistress, girlfriend, whatever, rather than her making her look like a little boy.
It has to be a boy. It's the only way it's going to work for
I will only
me.
deal with little boys. It's a little boy or nothing. Do you want to go on the run or not? They then purchased tickets for a journey to Canada aboard the British merchant steamship known as the SS Montrose, adopting the guise of a father and his son.
Just another strange choice.
Yeah, very strange. Because this was a really bad decision. They should have actually sailed to America, not Canada. Back at the time, Canada was still under like British Dominion or whatever.
It's true, yeah.
And Dr. Crippen was American. So if they had sailed to the United States, he would have been out of the British jurisdiction. He probably still could have got arrested, but it would have been a big diplomatic thing rather than just going to Canada. Anyway.
He doesn't seem like a man with good decisions.
Yeah, I know. He should have gone to where he would have been outside British jurisdiction, but whatever.
And he's from America.
Exactly. Yeah, he's from America. Why not
go home?
Yeah, maybe he just thought it'd be quicker to maybe like he sailed to Canada and maybe their plan was to go down from Canada. Yeah. But whatever. It was a bad idea. So at this point, the story had made its way into the newspapers, and the faces of Dr. Crippen and Ethel were featured in all major publications, with £250 being offered as a reward for their capture. Now, aboard the Montrose, the father and son, who went under the alias Mr. John Robinson, and his 16-year-old son, they were watched with interest, because this makes it so much worse. Okay, they seemed to be unnaturally passionate for father and son. They were constantly holding hands and seen kissing and generally just like humping each other. Now, the other passengers must have just thought like they're French or something. Yeah. I don't know what. But like, how did nobody think this is weird? That like, why?
Just stay in character for the trip.
Yeah, even you can, behind closed doors, nobody will see.
Yeah, it was out in the open. Like they were doing this on deck.
Okay, well, we'll go through all the effort of disguising ourselves as a father and son, and then we'll just like hold hands and make out on deck, and nobody will think this is weird. Added to that, the boys' clothing seemed to be very ill-fitting. Now, captain of the ship was a guy named Kendall. And he had his suspicions. I'm sure a lot of fucking people did, but he couldn't be sure. After re-examining his newspaper, the captain was confident. He whited out Crippen's spectacles and mustache in a newspaper photograph and saw the likeness of Mr. Robinson right before him. He could instantly tell that's Dr. Crippen right there.
It's like a cartoon.
Yeah, it is.
Wait a minute.
Captain Kendall tested his theory. One day, he called Mr. Robinson to the pair while they were on the deck, and neither of them responded to their supposed own name. Then, when a young Master Robinson's trousers split, Captain Kendall noticed that the young boy was wearing ladies' underwear. So he was 1000% positive that this was Dr. Crippen and Ethel Lenev. This is literally like Scooby-Doo level shit. This is so funny.
Except instead of pulling the mask off, they pulled the pants off.
Yeah, exactly. Those are women's underwear. The SS Montrose was one of the first vessels equipped with wireless radio telegraph. So, Captain Kendall used this equipment to tell the ship's owners he believed he had Crippen and Ethel on board his ship. The message that he sent out read, "London cellar murderer and accomplice are among saloon passengers." The owners then, in turn, informed Scotland Yard and the press. Chief Inspector Dew, determined to intercept the pair posing as father and son, took swift action by boarding a faster vessel called the SS Laurentic. The hunt was on, and the pursuit across the Atlantic was covered breathlessly by the world's press. The Canadian police were notified, and for 10 days, Crippen and his companion tried to avoid detection. If they were already detected, little did they know, not realizing the police were already onto them, giving chase. Their boat was faster, and how, through much publicity, everybody was aware of this story, of them on the boat. Literally before they were arrested, a newspaper all the way in Nebraska, USA, had a headline that said, "Ready to grab him, Scotland Yard sleuth in wait for Dr. Crippen." Everybody knew they were about to be arrested except for Dr. Crippen himself. This was world news.
Just him and his boy.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting away with it. No.
Yeah. So the Laurentic reached the Gulf of St. Lawrence ahead of the Montrose, and when Crippen and Ethel finally reached Canada on Sunday, July 31st, the inspector was waiting for them. Dew boarded the vessel, and to the fugitive couple's complete surprise, he shouted, "I want you, Crippen!"
You know, as an eye and ear doctor, he really should have seen it coming.
Ooh, very nice, my friend.
I'm out of here. Good night.
Dew successfully identified the father and son as none other than Crippen and Ethel Lenev. Subsequently, both were apprehended and placed under arrest. As detectives led Crippen and Ethel off the Montrose in handcuffs, a sea of reporters from around the world were present to witness this historic moment. The first murder case solved with the assistance of wireless telegraph communications. It was an exceptionally public event, and the calculated photo opportunity of the arrest itself demonstrated how emerging information technologies had been strikingly integrated into the realm of law enforcement. After 3 weeks, both were escorted back to England to face trial. It was decided that the pair should not be tried together. Crippen would face his trial first, and once the verdict had been determined, Ethel Lenev would take her turn in the dock to be tried as an accessory to murder. So, on the 18th of October, Crippen stood alone in the dock at the Old Bailey before the Lord Chief Justice of England, Lord Alverston. The proceedings would last until the 22nd of October. Crippen's defense was simple: that the body found in the cellar of his home under those bricks was not Cora's. The body must have been of some poor unknown woman that had been placed there before he and Cora moved in 1905. So it was there crucial to the prosecution to prove that the body was Cora's. Now, the problem with that is there was flesh still on the body, so it must have been pretty recent. But moving aside that, one piece of flesh found in the shallow grave bore a scar, and medical records showed that Cora had the same scar. More conclusive was the fact that the remains had been wrapped in a pajama jacket. A tag inside the jacket led to the manufacturers, who were able to confirm when that piece of clothing was made, and therefore it gave, a date to the body. So that and the scar was consistent with the body, being that of Cora Turner. Surprisingly, though, the pathologist who examined the body, Bernard Spilsbury, he was unable to confirm if the body was male or female, which, really does, be crazy that, they couldn't say. I mean, obviously, I know arms, legs, and all were cut off, and the genitals were cut off, but you'd still think, the skin, the shape of the torso,
like the hips
and the upper body, be wider for a guy. The body must have really been in quite
bad
a state.
shape. Yeah. No, it was it was properly mutilated. It was bad.
Medical tests showed that the flesh contained traces of hyoscine, a poison, and it was known that Crippen had purchased 5 grams of that substance 2 weeks before she vanished, and it just so happened to be in this body. I mean, come on! Dr. Crippen maintained his innocence throughout the trial, and it took the jury only 27 minutes to find him guilty of murder. On the 25th of October, Ethel Leneve was put on trial as an accessory to murder, and she was found not guilty. In fact, her public defender, F.E. Smith, was actually later involved in signing the Treaty of Irish Independence. Well, not that, the road to Irish independence in 1921.
Oh, nice.
Set us on the road to independence when we became a free state. After they signed the treaty, he said to Michael Collins, "I may have just signed my political death warrant." Michael Collins replied, "I have just signed my actual death warrant." And 8 months later, Michael Collins was assassinated by some folk who were not too keen on the terms of that treaty. That's his little fun tidbit about who her lawyer was, and he was involved,
I liked it.
Thank you. A subsequent appeal on behalf of Crippen was dismissed, and his death sentence was confirmed. Crippen's plan to elude the hangman by committing suicide with broken glass from his spectacles was foiled, and on Wednesday, November 23rd, 1910, 48-year-old Crippen was hanged at Pentonville by hangman John Ellis, who was actually a barber from Yorkshire.
Yeah, hanging must have been his side hustle.
Crippen smiled as the hood was put over his head. His last request had been for a photograph of Ethel and some of her letters to be buried with him in his unmarked grave. The request was granted. Ethel was freed. As I said, she was found not guilty, and she later moved to Toronto, Canada, and she worked as a typist for a few years before moving back to London. Ethel married and had 2 sons, and she never actually revealed to anybody later in life, to her husband or sons, her relationship with Dr. Crippen. She took that secret to her grave, and she passed away of natural causes in 1967 when Ethel Leneve was 85 years of age. Her photos still in Dr. Crippen's grave. The captain of his ship, Captain Kendall, the person who, noticed Crippen and essentially stopped them from getting away. He did get the reward, the £250, but he also almost later drowned when his ship, the RMS Empress of Ireland, sank in the Gulf of Lawrence. It collided with another ship during a period of dense fog, almost at the exact same spot where Crippen was arrested. Almost dying there.
The ghost of Crippen come back.
Come back to drag him down to a watery grave. Let's get spooky.
Let's do it.
And Chief Inspector Dew, he went on to become a private detective. P.I. Dew. He passed away in 1947. So, I hear you're barking, big dog. Is that the end of the story? Well, some say yes, others say no.
Even today, there has still been growing support for the case to be reopened. Present-day descendants of Crippen's family, as well as certain forensic experts, have asserted that the remains discovered in the basement might not have belonged to Cora. An analysis of, because he still have tissue, or skin, so the analysis of the tissue extracted from the body uncovered in Crippen's cellar has been contrasted with the DNA of Cora Turner's relatives, revealing the samples didn't match.
Ooh, who was this?
So furthermore, examinations conducted by Professor David Foran, who serves as the Director of Forensic Science at Michigan State University, indicates that the cadaver is that of a male. So not Cora.
Not Cora, not even a woman. Who the fuck was down there?
Who was it? So there are additional inconsistencies with the prosecution's case. So toxicologists asserted that poisoners typically avoided mutilating their victims' bodies. They aim for deaths to appear natural in order to secure a death certificate. The case stands as an anomaly, as it involves the dismemberment of the victim.
It's kind of like, what's the point kind of poisoning them if you're just going to chop them up and bury them anyway? The toxicologist is saying it's like you're poisoning them to make it seem like a natural death. She had a whatever, but then why go then to the point of chopping her up and burying? Well, that's the thing though. We don't even know who this is.
Exactly. We don't know who it is. Yeah. So like the whole case against Crippen is like, if he was to do it, because the prosecutor said that he poisoned her and then mutilated her and put her in a cellar. Like, why would he do that when, as a doctor, he could be like, listen, she took ill. She passed out. I tried to resuscitate her. Nothing was happening. She's dead. And he'd probably take his word at it.
Exactly. He's a doctor. And they were like pretty respected people in this society then. And then he would have just avoided all the whole bullshit. So what I was thinking, we'll get to it.
Okay, interesting.
But I think he's a serial killer probably.
Let's circle back.
We'll circle back to it.
So Raymond Chandler, the esteemed crime novelist, well versed in the tactics of murderous harboured reservations regarding Dr. Crippen's culpability, he expressed skepticism over the notion that Crippen could have effectively disposed of the victim's head and limbs, ensuring they would never be discovered, and then buried the torso beneath his own cellar floor.
I mean, Philip Marlowe wouldn't do that. The hero of Raymond Chandler's novels, his noir novels. He's like, so why would you, if you were burying a body in your basement, why would you put the head and the legs and shit somewhere else? Why would you even need to dismember the body at all?
That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, none of this makes sense.
So some individuals give credence to Crippen's claims that Cora had abandoned him for another man. They argue that he was unaware of the presence of the body and speculate that it might have been placed there by a previous tenant. So, was the body in the basement truly that of Cora, or had she in fact eloped with her lover, leaving her husband to face the gallows for a crime he didn't commit? Could it be that one of Britain's most notorious murderers was, in reality, innocent? At the time of recording, all pleas to revisit the case have been denied. In 2010, the Criminal Cases Review Commission declined to refer to the Court of Appeal. Nevertheless, for some, there will perpetually remain a shadow of uncertainty concerning the culpability or exoneration of the infamous Dr. Crippen.
Just because it's not Cora doesn't mean he didn't do it. They'd been living in the house for years. The whole thing of the body being buried there before they moved in sounds ridiculous because they'd been living there for a couple of years. And the body had flesh on it, which means that it must have been fairly recent.
And the pyjamas as well. They moved in 1905 and the pyjamas 1908. Yeah. So they were in the house when this happened.
Exactly. And it just seems unlikely that Cora would have ran away. She was with him for the money.
Yeah.
She was constantly saying that, I'm only with you for the money. Her running away doesn't seem like it makes sense to me at all.
I wonder if it's more of a case of instead of him killing Cora, it's him killing one of her lovers. You know, like maybe trying to poison him, but it kind of, he gave him some, maybe didn't give him enough. He was a bit groggy, so he had to kind of bludgeon him. And at that point, it's like, oh crap, like I can't say he's poisoned when he's got a big, his skull is caved in. So I need to like chop off these, I'll bury it. It was a mess.
That sounds
And
good.
that's probably why he ran as well, because when they coming in, looking around the home, asked him, Cora might have run off with someone. So she might have been still alive and left him to the gallows, but the fact that he was killed one of her lovers, he knew there was a body in the house. When the police come snooping around, like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't just be like, okay, let's go to Canada.
Yeah, he definitely knew. But I would say that if he murdered one of her lovers, he probably murdered her too. It's unlikely he would murder her lover. I think that he probably murdered her lover and him, probably tried to do the poison thing and it didn't work out, so he ended up bringing out a knife and killed them, stabbed them both to death.
Yep.
And then Cora's body is probably where the head and the legs of this guy is. Because they've never been found. They've only found the torso buried in the basement. Never found his legs or his head.
Yep.
Wherever, maybe that was thrown into the Thames River or something. Who knows? And her body could be there too. So I do think he's a killer. Probably Ethel was involved. But, you know, it's like a right church, wrong pew or whatever that saying is. You know, it's like the police were half right, I think, about it. He is a killer, just not of who they think. But yeah, that's it. An interesting story. A real humdinger, if I do say so. It's a real thinker. It's a good one.
It is.
It's a really interesting story. Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts. Who do you think?
Ooh, yeah. For the folks at home. Let us know what you think as we end the tale of Dr. Crippen, a story which at the time aroused enormous public interest. So yeah, it's a crazy story. People are still actively trying to get it reopened, and there's even a wax effigy of Dr. Crippen, which still graces the Chamber of Horrors at Madame Tussauds Wax Museum in Londonium.
If you're there, check it out.
Yeah, check it out. Take a selfie with old Dr. Crippen and send it in to us. But yeah, here, listen, that ends this solo episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was a really fascinating story. Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh, but say it's good. Like someone died.
Well, you know what I mean. It's 100 years ago, so don't feel bad about laughing about it. Yeah. But yeah, no, you're right. So yeah, here, listen, thank you so much for listening to the folks at home. It means a lot. Me and Keith both appreciate it. And the next episode will be up soon-ish. Soon enough, probably in like a week or whatever. Some daytime, nighttime, sometime. We'll be around.
Great.
All right, Keith, final word?
No. I think that about covers it. Yeah. Look forward to doing the next one. The next one's going to be good.
Next one will be good. Yeah. All right. Here, listen, you guys have been great. Thanks so much for listening. Bye.
See ya.
In the early days of dating, Crippen found out that the flamboyant... Oh, sorry. I read that. Goddamn, Regina's after going to do so much editing in this one. I'm like all over the place. Is there vodka in my Red Bull? I'm wondering. I'm like so all over the place today.